Muskogee is a city in Oklahoma with a population of under 40,000. The majority of the residences are very spread out and separated from one another, giving it a decidedly rural vibe. The case study for today takes us to the 900 block of Indiana Street, where a 911 call was placed at 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February 2, 2021. The Muskogee law enforcement is experienced in handling criminal cases. Despite its seeming tranquility, the city has one of the highest rates of crime in the nation. Here, there is a 1 in 24 probability of falling victim to either violent or property crime. Nothing, however, could have prepared cops for what they were about to encounter. Before handing the phone to a lady, the man who had called 911 requested an ambulance.
Hey, I need the ambulance.
I need an ambulance. I've been shot. Kids have been shot.
They're coming as fast as they can, okay? Is the assailant still nearby? Can you hear me? Is the attacker still nearby?
Yes.
What's the name of the person that did this to you?
I can't say.
Is the person still there with you?
Yeah, I'm here.
They're coming, okay? The officers are gonna take care of you, okay?
It was becoming obvious that she was losing consciousness, and the authorities were running out of time. 12 or so officers got into their guns and moved cautiously and swiftly towards the house, not knowing what to expect or how many of the occupants carried weapons. They spotted a young man leaving the premises quietly as they came to the street. He had a revolver in his hand and his face covered.
Towards me. Turn around.
He just stood there staring blankly for a minute, not answering any of the police.
Slowly
He is
put it
armed.
down.
Abruptly, he bolted out of sight into the night. After one of the officers shot at him
Run and
and
stop that. He's
missed,
got a gun.
there was now a pursuit.
I'm with you, Gumby. Fuck. Watch your left. Get this car. Show your hands. Contact north side. No. Show us your hands. He's right here. He's behind that tree over there. Walk this way with your hands up.
When they eventually caught up to him, he was taken into custody.
North side of Pleasant Valley. You're not lowering your hands. We're good. We can open here. Who's got?
The man was identified as 25-year-old Jaron Pritchett, and he was the one who initially called 911, in addition to being the suspect in the shootings. Now, police were passing through the Dot home, and the silence was excruciating. Brittany Anderson, 27, was the woman Jaron had given the phone to, and she was barely hanging on. While they waited for a chopper to transport her to the hospital, paramedics stated that her injuries were potentially fatal, and they were prepared for the worst. They discovered 4 of Brittany's younger children and a young man as they made their way through the house. They'd all been killed by gunshots. Her other child was critically hurt and struggling for their life as well. Together with her 3 additional children, Brittany has 8 total children living in the home. A 7-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 1-month-old were present. Fortunately, they escaped unscathed and were eventually reunited with their grandparents after being transported to the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. After the chopper came, Brittany and her small child were flown to a hospital around 40 miles away in Tulsa. Brittany's brain was swollen and bleeding when she was taken to the intensive care unit. Sadly, her child who had traveled with her died not long after she arrived. How in the world had 6 little lives been snatched in a matter of seconds? Neighbors who were worried about their pals gathered outside to seek answers amidst the chaos and conjecture.
Evan, just a tragic mass murder in this Muskogee neighborhood. Neighbors are just shaken to the core after what happened here overnight. 7 people in one family shot here in this home that you see here behind me. Police found 1 man and 4 children dead in the home. A woman and another child were life-flighted to a Tulsa hospital where the 5th child died. The woman still fighting for her life tonight. Sky 5 flying over the scene hours after police got the call around 1:30 this morning. Police telling us the suspect is 25-year-old Jerron Dejon Pridgeon, who lived in the small home with all 7 victims.
When officers went inside the scene, they discovered 4 small children had been shot and 1 adult male. There was another female that was taken to the hospital with another small child. They were both life-flighted to a Tulsa hospital where that small child also was pronounced deceased. We don't believe that it's random, but we just don't have details yet of the why or what happened.
Now, we're still waiting to hear more from police on what happened. That's the latest here from Muskogee. Katrina Adger, KOCO 5 News.
5 of Brittany Anderson's 8 children were fathered by Jerron, their suspect, who shared residence with her. Brittany's ex-boyfriend Jerron would come and go, never staying put, remaining for extended lengths of time in the house. Police started giving the public and media access to the victims' names as soon as they were identified. The individual who had been shot was Javarian, Jerron's brother, who is 24 years old. The kids were Jadis, 3 years old, and 1-year-old Jaliyah, who was 6 days away from becoming 2. 3 children, 5-year-old Harmony, 6-year-old Neva, and 9-year-old Cadence. Brittany's oldest child, Jaliyah, Jadis, Neva, the 1-year-old, and the 1-month-old infant were all under Jerron's fatherhood.
Jerron, do you have any comment on why you shot your whole family? Do you have any comment for us?
What do you have to say?
Although Brittany's family had recently moved into the neighborhood, locals said they already felt at home. Every child might be seen playing outside in the park or on the street, interacting well with other kids and quickly becoming friends. Cadence was the only son and oldest child of Brittany. He had a lot of enthusiasm and desired to play football in the future. Neva used to joke with her aunt about taking her to her nail salon, and she was described as cheeky and a little diva. Harmony, who went as the smiley one, loved to make others laugh. Jadis, who was 1 year old, was characterized as a dream baby. She never cried at anyone and just wanted to be taken up and cuddled by everyone. And Jadis, who was intelligent, devoted, and passionately protective of her siblings. The siblings were close, and despite their differences, they all loved being outside and making up stories to tell each other. It was their custom to bid each other farewell with a fist bump, a high 2, and a high 5. Since Jaliyah was still unable to perform the high 2, she substituted a high 1. Naturally, Jerron was already under arrest and not required to post bond. He gave no explanation for his outburst and was completely emotionless and unhelpful. A lengthy criminal history included burglary, battery, and assault with a dangerous weapon, resisting arrest, impeding law enforcement, and possession of a controlled dangerous narcotic. He was charged in 2019 after hurling concrete slabs at a woman in an incident. He entered a guilty plea and was given a 10-year sentence. However, this was postponed for 3 years in order to allow for a mental health assessment. The crime was so heinous that it was incomprehensible, and the family's suffering caused everyone to feel deeply hurt and angry. It will go down in history as the most horrific crime in a modern metropolis, according to the authorities. According to Police Department spokesperson Lynn Hamlin, I've been with this agency for 16 years and have not had anything to this magnitude during my time that I've been on. Balloons and flowers began to line the front of the house, and many of the kids in the area also took possession of their toys and placed them outdoors for their now lost pals. One young girl told the cameras, "I feel bad for the mother who lost her children, so I decided I would grab a couple of stuffed animals and bring them here." Many people came together to sing and pray for the family in a park outside the Muskogee Civic Center the day after the killing. The neighborhood was coming together in a way the mayor had never seen, despite the fact that the shootings had already had such a negative impact on them. Free food was being given away by restaurants, and support teams and therapy dogs were being offered by organizations all around Oklahoma. "I can't even describe how I'm feeling," Mayor Coleman remarked. "Grief would be an understatement for me, the head of this city and the pastor of a church that Brittany and her sisters often attended as children. Many of us slept soundly, hoping for better hopes in the morning, only to wake up to the news that 5 kids, full of potential, were no longer with us. Their lives were cut short, their families struggling to deal with a fresh tragedy, and our community in a state of paralysis from loss. Incredibly, despite all the odds, Brittany was getting better. She was sitting up now, chatting, and clearly awake. However, the young mother was soon forced to confront the heartbreaking fact that her life had changed. Her children, 5 of them, had been killed. She told the cops that everything had happened so quickly and that the entire night had been such a blur. She claimed to have told Jaron he was welcome to stop by the kids while he was traveling to Texas. She claimed that Jaron's assurance that he would never hurt her was the last memory she had. She claimed that he suddenly snapped and shot the gun directly into her face. She added, "I knew that I was attacked first, even though I was in and out of consciousness." She said, "I saw Jaron come in from the kitchen saying, 'I shouldn't have done that.'" Brittany remembered hearing the paramedics mention deceased kids as they arrived, but it had escaped her attention. For days, nothing about what had transpired with her family made sense. A fund was established to assist with funeral expenses, and the community continued to support them in any way that they could. It brought in an incredible $45,000. All 5 of the children were buried on February 13th, but the locals realized that this would not result in any peace or closure.
We get permission from the family to be outside of today's service, and we saw family walking out of the service tearful and emotional. Muskogee police officers were also there today to show their support, and Mayor Marlon Coleman was one of the speakers at the service, and he says the children's mother, Brittany Anderson, was at the service today.
It was traumatic for me to walk through the door and see 5 caskets. I think it was traumatic for everybody to walk through the door and see 5 caskets. For her to see that, I can only imagine. It's inexplainable.
In the next few days, he added, he would issue a proclamation designating March as Community Care Month for first responders. Because of the shooting, a number of first responders were receiving counseling, and he wanted the community to help them also at this difficult time. According to the paramedics, the squad genuinely knew the family, with a few members having a close personal relationship. Even if you can prepare for distressing calls, no one can be ready for anything like that. They said that day will always be a part of them.
The judge rules there is enough evidence against a Muskogee man charged with murdering 5 children and his brother for that man to stand trial.
News on 6's Amelia McGavro has more from today's preliminary hearing for Jaron Pridgen. She also spoke exclusively to the children's mother, who is the only survivor of those shootings.
Anderson says she testified about the night she and her 5 children were shot. She was the only survivor.
It was kind of hard going over it and just thinking about it. But like I said, I wanted to get justice for my babies, so I just gave them the answers that came to my recollection.
The media, as well as Anderson's own family, had to wait outside the courtroom because the hearing was closed to the public.
I'm not happy that we did not get to go in the courtroom with her.
And that's what we're fighting for justice. And that's what we want. That's what she wants for her children, and that's what I want for my grandchildren. It's justice.
I got God on my side, so everything's going to be okay.
Jaron Pridgen, 25, was quickly brought before the court to answer for his horrible deeds. He was accused of 6 first-degree murder charges, 1 count of shooting with the intent to kill, and 1 count of possessing a handgun following a conviction or while on probation. The judge ordered that he first undergo a psychiatric evaluation in order to proceed with the prosecution's request for the death punishment. Things moved slowly because of the pandemic-related delays. Jaron's plea change from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity was revealed in May 2023. October 2023 was then set as the trial's start date. However, because of additional delays, it is unlikely to proceed as scheduled. He remains silent about what transpired that morning and the reasons for it, even after 2 years. Not only is he a monster, but he is also a coward for acting in such a cowardly manner. Sister of Brittany, Raven says, "It is unfathomable the agony Brittany has to endure. Her town, and everyone in it, are striving to assist her in rebuilding her life to the best of their abilities, and she is surrounded by a strong and encouraging family." She claimed to be overcome with survivor's remorse and felt that she ought to have died along with her 3 surviving children, but she had to persevere. Brittany claims that all sense of routine has vanished and her house feels incredibly empty. Without the pitter-patter of so many tiny feet, she claims to live in a very silent and lonely environment, both literally and emotionally. She also claims that the laughter, happiness, and joy have vanished. And thank you for watching.